She declared, "Whatever. I don't need your support anyway." When I withdrew from her wedding planning, I said, "Good." When her dream venue called to cancel, because I'd been the one financing everything through my event planning company, support suddenly mattered. I, 29 male, own a small event planning company that I built from scratch after dropping out of college. Not gonna lie, it's been brutal getting it off the ground, but after 6 years, we're finally turning decent profits and have a solid reputation locally. My younger sister Melody, 26, got engaged last January to her boyfriend Garrett. Cool, whatever. I was happy for her. She immediately started planning this massive wedding. We're talking 200 plus guests, luxury venue, the works. Our parents passed away when we were teens, car accident, and we both inherited some money, but Melody burned through hers years ago on designer bags and trips to Europe. I invested mine in my business. Here's where it gets messy. Melody just assumed I'd handle everything through my company. Not asked, assumed. She showed up at my office one day in February with her Pinterest boards and a whole binder of ideas, talking about our vision for the wedding. I told her I'd be happy to help, but we needed to discuss budget first. She literally laughed and said, "Come on, you own the company. Just write it off as marketing or something." I explained that's not how business works. I offered her the family discount, 40% off our usual rates, which was already generous considering my margins. She got this look on her face like I'd suggested she roll around in garbage. "You're really going to charge me? Your only sister? The only family you have left?" I stayed calm and explained that while I'd love to help, I couldn't just give away 30K plus in services. My business has employees to pay, overhead costs, etc. I suggested we could work out a payment plan, or I could cover specific elements as her wedding gift. That's when she lost it. Started screaming in my office, my actual place of business with clients in the waiting area, about how I'm selfish, how mom and dad would be disgusted by my greed, how I care more about money than family. My office manager, Deb, had to escort her out. 2 days later, Melody sent me this long text about how she'd been talking to Garrett's family and they couldn't believe I wouldn't help with the wedding. How embarrassing it was to explain that her own brother, who owns an event company, refused to support her one special day. I replied simply, "I offered you a significant discount and flexible payment options. If you don't want my help under those terms, that's your choice." Her response? "Whatever. I don't need your support anyway. Garrett's mom knows people. We'll have a better wedding without your tacky company involved." I said, "Good." Then I did something petty. I admit it. I called the venue she'd been eyeing, Rosewood Manor, and canceled the tentative hold I'd placed for her date. See, she didn't know I'd already put down a deposit from my business account to secure her preferred date while she figured things out. The venue knows me well. We've done dozens of events there. They released the date immediately. Fast forward to March. I get a call from Rosewood Manor's event coordinator asking if there was a mistake. Apparently, Melody had shown up for her scheduled tasting, only to be told they had no record of her booking, and her date was already taken by another couple. The meltdown was, according to my contact there, spectacular. Then the texts started rolling in. First from Melody, then from Garrett, then from his mom. How could I do this? How could I sabotage her wedding? Don't I know how hard it is to find venues? I responded to Melody only. I thought you didn't need my support. Garrett's mom knows people, remember? The real kicker? Turns out Garrett's mom's connections were just her hairdresser who did weddings on the side 10 years ago, and her neighbor who has a nice backyard. But wait, it gets better. Update 1. So the venue drama was just the beginning. After Melody realized she'd lost Rosewood Manor, she scrambled to find alternatives. Every decent place was either booked or way outside her budget. She ended up putting a deposit down at this place called the Grandview, which honestly isn't bad, just not the fairy tale castle vibe she wanted. During this time, radio silence from her. But I heard through mutual friends she was telling everyone I viciously sabotaged her by somehow blocking her from venues all over the city. Like I'm some kind of wedding venue mafia boss? The delusion was real. Then last week, I get a call from Tony, my flower supplier. He's laughing his ass off. "Yo, Did your sister really just try to place a $5 flower order under your company account? Apparently, Melody had called, introduced herself as my sister and company partner, and tried to order elaborate centerpieces, bouquets, the works. She told Tony to just put it on the usual account and that I'd sort out the paperwork later. Tony's worked with me for 4 years. He knows I don't have a partner, and he definitely knows to verify any large orders. He told her he'd need to confirm with me first, and she hung up on him. An hour later, I get a text from her. Can't you just help with the flowers at least? It's the least you could do. Me no. Her, I already told everyone the flowers were handled. Sounds like a you problem. You're such a bitter person. No wonder you're still single. K. Then she tried another angle. She reached out to my employees directly. My assistant Rachel told me Melody met her on Instagram asking if she could do a side project for cash, basically asking her to use my company's vendor connections and discounts behind my back. The messages were insane. Hey Rachel, I know you work with my brother. I was wondering if you'd be interested in some extra cash? I need help with some wedding planning, and I know you have all the vendor contacts. We don't need to involve him. This would be just between us. I'll pay you $500 cash. When Rachel didn't respond immediately, Melody sent, I know he probably told you lies about me. I'm his sister, the only family he has left. He's being petty and cruel because he's jealous I'm getting married and he's still single. Then, hello? I know you read this. Then, whatever. You're probably sleeping with him anyway. That's the only reason someone would be loyal to that loser. Rachel screenshotted everything and sent it to me immediately. I gave her a raise on the spot. She also told me Melody had tried the same thing with 2 other employees, including our junior planner Kevin, who's literally 19 and still in college. She offered him $200 to steal my vendor list. Kevin's response was legendary. He just sent her a gif of someone laughing and blocked her. But the best part? Garrett's mom, Patricia, called me. This woman who I'd met maybe 3 times started lecturing me about family values and how blood is thicker than water. I let her finish her whole speech, then said, Patricia, are you offering to pay for the wedding? Silence. Because Melody has champagne taste on a beer budget, and I already offered her a generous discount, she refused. So unless you're writing a check, I'm not sure why you're calling me. She muttered something about young people today and hung up. Update 2. Everything came crashing down last week, and I mean everything. So Melody had been moving forward with her scaled-back wedding plans. The Grandview venue, grocery store flowers, a photographer she found on Instagram who'd only done 2 weddings before. She was making it work, I guess. But then she escalated, because of course she did. It started with her showing up at my apartment at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, just banging on the door like the police. My neighbor almost called the cops before I got to the door. She was crying, but not sad crying, angry crying. Mascara everywhere, holding her phone with her banking app open. I need $8,000, she said. Not asked. Said. For what? The venue wants the full payment now. Garrett's mom was supposed to help, but she backed out. And this is my problem because, she pushed past me into my apartment, because you have it. I know you do. You just spent $15,000 on that stupid charity thing. That was allocated money for a specific purpose, which I used. It was my money. No, it was money I considered giving you as a gift, which you rejected when you said you didn't need my support. She actually threw her phone at me, like actually threw it. It hit the wall behind me and shattered. Then she had the audacity to scream that I broke her phone. I told her to leave or I'd call the police. She left, but not before saying, "You'll regret this." Then I found out what she'd been telling people. My business phone starts blowing up with cancellations and angry calls. 3 of my regular clients wanted to terminate their contracts. Why? Because word was spreading that I was going out of business and had lost all my vendor relationships due to family drama and unprofessionalism. It took me about 5 seconds to realize what happened. Melody had been telling anyone who'd listened that the reason she wasn't using my company was because I was having financial troubles and couldn't deliver quality services anymore. She actually told people I'd begged her to let me do her wedding for free to save my failing business, but she couldn't trust me with her special day. This wasn't just petty. This was an attempt to destroy my livelihood. I was done playing nice. First, I consulted my lawyer. Turns out, spreading false information to damage a business's reputation is defamation, and I had multiple witnesses. I sent Melody a cease and desist letter, CCing Garrett and his mother. Made it clear that if one more person contacted me about these lies, I'd be pursuing legal action. Then, I pulled the nuclear option. Remember that inheritance I mentioned? What I didn't mention was that our parents' life insurance policies had a specific clause. I was the beneficiary, but with instructions to provide for Melody's wedding when the time came. Not legally binding, more of a request. I'd always planned to honor it, which is why I offered her that huge discount in the first place. Well, there was nothing saying I had to give it to her directly. I took the $15 I'd set aside and paid the Grandview, in full, for the date after Melody's wedding. Then I threw an absolutely spectacular charity event for the local children's hospital. We raised $22,000 for their new pediatric wing. The kicker? I made sure everyone knew about it. Posted all over social media about how honored I was to use my parents' memory to help sick children, how they would have been so proud to see their legacy used for such a good cause. Tagged all the family friends, included photos of my parents, the whole thing. The response was overwhelming. Local news picked it up. The children's hospital sent me a beautiful thank you letter that I framed. Everyone was talking about what an amazing tribute it was. But the real satisfaction came from an unexpected source. My parents' best friends, the Johnsons, who'd been somewhat distant since the whole wedding drama started, called me. Mr. Johnson was crying on the phone, actual tears, saying my parents would have been so proud. They donated another $5 to the children's hospital in my parents' names. Then came the chain reaction. Other family friends started donating too. The fundraiser ended up bringing in over $40 total for the hospital. They announced they were naming the playroom after my parents at a board meeting that half the city's elite attended. Guess who found out about all this through social media? Melody found out when Garrett's mom called her, gushing about what a wonderful thing I'd done and how proud my parents would be. The cognitive dissonance of having spread lies about me being broke while I just dropped $15 on charity broke Patricia's brain a little, I think. Patricia actually called Melody while she was at work. She works part-time at a boutique, and put her on speaker with her book club. All these women were praising me, talking about how selfless and honorable I was. One of them actually said, "Your brother is such a good man. You must be so proud to have him handling your wedding." Melody had to stand there and explain that actually, no, I wasn't handling the wedding. The silence, according to her coworker who texted me later, was deafening. Melody called me screaming, not texting, actually called. "You used my wedding money for a tax write-off? It wasn't your money. It was money I chose to set aside for you. You said you didn't need my support, remember? That was supposed to be for my wedding. No, it was supposed to honor our parents' memory. I think sick kids did that better than centerpieces, don't you?" She called me every name in the book. Said I was evil, manipulative, that I'd ruined her life. I let her rant for a full 5 minutes, then said, "Melody, you tried to destroy my business because you couldn't accept the word no. You spread lies that could have cost me everything I've worked for, and you did it all while claiming you didn't need me. You're right, you don't need me, so stop calling." I hung up and blocked her number. Final update. The wedding happened last weekend. I didn't go, obviously, but I heard about it. Oh boy, did I hear about it. First, let me tell you what happened the week before the wedding. Melody made one last desperate attempt. She had Garrett call me. This man, who I'd maybe had 5 conversations with ever, called me at my office. "Hey man, I know things are rough between you and Mel, but could you maybe reconsider? She's been crying every night. It's her dream wedding, and..." "Garrett, did she tell you she tried to destroy my business? She mentioned you guys had a disagreement about. She told multiple clients I was going bankrupt. She could have cost me everything. She tried to bribe my employees to steal from me. She attempted to commit fraud using my business accounts." Long silence. She said you were being petty about money. I offered her a 40% discount. She refused and said she didn't need my support. I respected her decision. Then she tried to ruin my life when she realized she actually did need help. That's not a disagreement, Garrett. That's attempted destruction. He hung up. I found out later he and Melody had a massive fight that night. Her maid of honor, Jessica, who follows me on Instagram for some reason, posted some vague stuff about knowing someone's true colors before it's too late, and red flags looking like normal flags when you're wearing rose-colored glasses. Now the wedding itself. Remember that Instagram photographer Melody hired? Turns out when you pay someone $300 for full wedding coverage, you get what you pay for. The guy showed up 2 hours late, drunk, and took maybe 100 photos total. Half were blurry. He left before the cake cutting because he had another gig. But it gets worse. The dude posted on his Instagram during the wedding, complaining about the cheap clients who expect miracles for pennies. He literally posted a photo of the reception with the caption, "When you pay Walmart prices but expect Versace results." Tagged the venue and everything. The flowers? She ended up getting them from the grocery store the morning of. Garrett and his groomsmen spent 3 hours assembling centerpieces in the venue parking lot. My buddy Jerome, who works at that grocery store, said she came in at 6 a.m. in her pajamas crying and bought literally every white flower they had. Cost her maybe $400 for what would have been 3 calories through my connections. And they looked exactly like $400 grocery store flowers arranged by hungover groomsmen. The venue itself was fine, but Melody had never actually visited it in person before putting down the deposit. She'd only seen photos online. Turns out the Grand View's Grand Ballroom is right next to their sports bar. Her first dance was soundtracked by the football game playing next door, and drunk guys cheering. Someone actually yelled, "Touchdown," right as Garrett dipped her. The catering situation was its own disaster. She'd gone with the venue's budget package, which was basically reheated frozen food. The chicken was rubber, the vegetables were mush, and they ran out of the vegetarian option completely. 3 guests got food poisoning. But here's the part that actually made me feel something. Not guilt exactly, but something. Garrett's best man reached out to me yesterday. Turns out, Garrett has been having second thoughts since this whole thing went down. Not about marrying Melody, but about who she really is. He'd never seen this side of her before. The lying, the manipulation, the entitlement. The best man said Garrett spent half his reception apologizing to guests for various aspects of the wedding and looked miserable the whole time. He also told me something interesting. Apparently, at the reception, Melody gave this speech about how she'd planned every perfect detail of the wedding herself, how it represented her vision, and how proud she was to have done it without anyone's help. She actually stood there in front of 200 people and took credit for the whole disaster like it was some kind of achievement. The speech was apparently 15 minutes long. She talked about how challenging it was to plan a wedding when certain people tried to sabotage her happiness, how she had to be strong and independent in the face of family betrayal. Several guests were recording, and I've been sent no less than 5 different angles of Garrett's face during this speech. The man looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. His mom, Patricia, was sitting at the parents' table with her face in her hands. His dad was actively drinking from a flask. The best man told me later that Garrett's dad pulled him aside and said, "We tried to warn him." Multiple people who knew the real story just sat there in stunned silence. Garrett's mom, Patricia, was overheard saying she was concerned about Melody's relationship with reality. The cake, which I haven't even mentioned yet, was from a homebaker Melody found on a local buying-selling group. It was lopsided, the frosting was melting by the time they cut it, and it tasted, according to multiple sources, like sweetened cardboard. The cake topper fell off during the cake cutting and landed in someone's champagne glass. They didn't even notice for 5 minutes. The DJ, and I use that term loosely, was Garrett's cousin who had a Spotify premium account and some speakers. He played the wrong song for their first dance, forgot to announce the bouquet toss, and at one point, his playlist accidentally switched to his workout mix. Nothing says romantic wedding reception like death metal during the father-daughter dance. As for my business, it's doing better than ever. The charity event got us 3 new high-end clients, including one who specifically said they wanted to work with a company that values family and community. The clients who'd called to cancel, they all renewed their contracts once they learned the truth. Rachel, my assistant who got the raise, just landed us a contract for the mayor's daughter's Sweet 16. Turns out the mayor's wife was at the charity event and was impressed by how we handled everything. Melody and I haven't spoken since I blocked her. Garrett's best man says she tells people I'm dead when they ask about family. That's fine. The feeling is mutual. The inheritance money I used for the charity event? The Children's Hospital just announced they're naming a playroom after my parents. They invited me to the dedication ceremony next month. I'm planning to bring Deb and Rachel and the rest of my team, the people who are actually my family now. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate or calculated. Sometimes it's just refusing to enable someone's delusions and letting them face the natural consequences of their choices. Melody wanted a wedding without my support. She got exactly what she asked for. And honestly, I sleep like a baby. Edit, since some people are asking, yes, this is real. No, I don't feel bad. Yes, I've been to therapy about my parents' death and my relationship with my sister. My therapist actually says standing up to Melody was a breakthrough for me. To those saying I should have just paid for her wedding to keep the peace. Why? To enable more entitled behavior? To teach her that tantrums and lies get rewarded? Nah. Our parents left us equal amounts. She chose to blow hers. That's not my responsibility to fix. And before anyone asks, no, I won't be reconciling with her. She tried to destroy my business. That's not something you come back from. Blood doesn't give you a free pass to ruin someone's life. The charity event idea came from Deb, actually. She said if I was going to spend the money anyway, might as well make it count for something good. Best advice I ever took.